But a lot of men my age are steeped in a toxic masculinity and have been raised in a culture where there is a particular way that a relationship looks.
What if I told you that we could solve Tracee Ellis Ross's dating problems and most women in their 40s and 50s dating problems in the course of this video? In order to do that, there's a couple things we need to discuss.
But I did dream of my wedding growing up. And that's not to say that I didn't dream of the bigness of my life, but I could have spent a lot more time dreaming of my life. And as much as grief does surface for me around not having children and not having a partner, I still wouldn't want the wrong partner.
That's a great point for people to hear.
I'm not interested in that. You have to make my life better. It can't just be, I'm in a relationship to be in a relationship. So it is a genuine, regular thought process for me. It's one of the reasons, we've talked about this, that often I date younger men. And a lot of it is because—
Let's stop on that, folks.
Oh my God, we had a great dinner. We had a great dinner, by the way, where across the table, your husband goes, "But why?"
And Barack Obama even is asking why. Why are you dating younger men?
This is what I'm saying. Tales from Tracee's.
It's fun. It's really fun to share.
Tracee tales.
But
I'm sorry.
But one of the reasons, though, that because I had to ask myself that question, I was like, "What is this about?" Yeah. Because I want a partner, and so often, and it's not just that I'm older. I'm also very embodied. I am a full, very whole person who knows myself, who is in charge of my life, and who lives a very full, just robust life.
Beautiful actress Tracee Ellis Ross won her first Golden Globe Award at age 44. Coincidentally, exactly 44 years before, her mother, Motown artist and R&B legend Diana Ross, won the same award. She dated actor Henry Simmons in the early 2000s, around the time she was filming TV show Girlfriends. She then met and fell in love with singer Akon's brother and Kanye's manager Booth Thiam in 2011. But her mom did not approve because he's Muslim and had several wives. She also dated NBA player Chris Webber, comedian DeRay Davis, singer Harry Styles, and was linked to director Kenya Barris.
So it's not just age, it's like life experience and sort of a difference. But I had to ask myself the question, why? Why does this keep sort of coming up other than they're hot and gorgeous?
There's that.
But a lot of men my age are steeped in a toxic masculinity and have been raised in a culture where there is a particular way that a relationship looks. And anything that starts to smell of that for me, I did enough of it where I was controlled and felt like I was a possession or whatever those things were, or prize, and I have no interest in it, and I will not do it again.
Also, Tracee Ellis Ross giving us insight on how she stays so young.
50 what? Years old. 50 what? 50 what? Years
52.
old.
52 years old. There's a series of, okay, it's a regimen.
This is the one I like on my booty.
Oh.
I lift it up. I can't do that right now because I don't have undies on. But I go up.
It's a butt roller. Getting that butt. I'm not gonna lie, that's one of her best features. A TMZ reporter asked her if she had the most underrated butt in Hollywood. She didn't quite like that.
This is also good back here. See what's in there? Don't waste this guy.
So this is who we're dealing with. Like, I'm not going to lie. Tracee has been attractive for a very, very long time, but she comes from a particular background. She's not only an actress, a successful actress who's had a career that spanned the last 25 years. She's also Diana Ross's daughter, and she was raised with a bit of privilege.
Don't get me wrong, I understand I come from privilege.
Yes.
Okay.
I was going to say, So it's a generational thing. So it didn't matter how you met them, or is it just
I'm
kind
not
of the
saying-
guys
that's
you're
sort
meeting?
That's obviously
Too big of a
It's
generalization.
a generalization,
Yeah.
but because I have dated men my age, there
Yeah.
is a difference. There is an openness that occurs with a younger man
Mhm.
around whether it's gender fluidity or not even having an issue with homosexuality. I mean, something as basic as that.
Exactly.
That,
Yeah.
that there's
No, I
times
hear you.
where I'll be, sitting across the table from somebody and just like, what did you just say?
Yeah, what century are you?
Like, oh my
where's-
God.
Where's your horse and buggy?
Yeah, like I'm so sorry.
And your bedpan.
Yeah, for real.
Chamber pot.
Yeah,
Your
your
chamber
chamber
pot.
pot, your chamber pot. Like where I'm just like, yeah, this is not a match.
Mhm, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have long been past the age where I feel like it's my job to teach somebody or
Yeah.
grow them up.
Yeah.
That I'm not interested in. So, but it's interesting. I mean,
Mhm.
there's so many different philosophies on dating.
Yeah.
And I have come up with mine. I have come up with what works for me and what makes sense for me and what feels safe for me.
Yep.
So the interesting place that we're in here is that Tracee Ellis describes herself as a unicorn. A lot of women have this perspective, but they might not have the accomplishments that Tracee has. They might not come from the background that Tracee has. And unfortunately, it's a common theme of this no one's ever good enough for me trope. And what I hate to see is that women in this age group, a lot of times after seeing life pass them by in some ways, now they want to blame everything on the options that they have available to them. Now, Tracee, this is why I say she's not like every woman in this predicament, because she actually says she can't date younger, which there's always a younger man that'll hit it. Let's not get it mistaken. But as far as having the relationship and the meaningful relationship that she probably wants going forward, I think there's going to have to be some compromise. There's going to have to be a way for her to compromise on some of the things that she thought were deal breakers in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, like I'm not on dating apps. I have friends that have great success with dating apps, but that's just not something I'm comfortable
So
with.
you're meeting folks in the wild then.
That's the only way for me, or someone
Mhm.
sets me up, or
Okay.
I meet them at an event. I meet someone. It's usually people that also have a level of recognition that
So it's not lack of options. It's just there's not a right option for her because she has so many requirements, it seems.
they
And of course, men of her age group are these cavemen. Like there's no other man in the world that is in his 50s or in his 40s that doesn't have an evolved mentality when it comes to things such as sexuality or gender fluidity. That doesn't sound quite accurate. And I think it's interesting that Michelle Obama's brother's right there in his 60s. I think he's 62. And she's not like, hey, you got any homeboys? Or, you seem pretty evolved. Or is she including him in that old archaic and misogynist pile? It's something when you start generalizing people in this way is very limiting. And it just makes the pool smaller and smaller.
meet someone, it's usually people that also have a level of recognition that they, have as much to lose as me to a
Yep.
certain extent.
Mhm.
Okay. It's funny because in a lot of ways, she's talking about people like myself, maybe that are in the public eye more or less, that have something to lose, have a level of success in some ways, like that is kind of her dating pool. But the Tracee Ellis Rosses of the world aren't necessarily out there putting themselves out there in that way. And that's unfortunate because time keeps going. And what I know about most men that I know in their 50s, they have a lot more options than a Tracee Ellis Ross. Even with her fame, even with her success, they can date women, a wide range of age of women are interested in them because they've gotten to a point in their life where they're established. They've gotten to a point in their life where they're successful. They might have already had a failed marriage. So they kind of know specifically what they're looking for. And that unfortunately puts Tracee Ellis Ross at a disadvantage of finding that person. I don't know if she's open to dating women, but that's another possibility. You know what I'm saying? If she is, then maybe she could find that. But I think even women that date women these days are having a lot of complaints about what they're finding in the dating market and how their lives are are impacted by the frivolity of a lot of the women they encounter, the very fickle nature of some of these women, the decisions that they make, the decision making. So a lot of them actually are looking for something more traditional. Go figure. But the funny thing is about this is that what she describes as toxic masculinity, we need to stop calling it that. We need to call it masculinity. It is what it is. And a lot of men that have established themselves, they don't put up with a lot of the games. They're very established and saying in what you're saying, they actually know who they are. And therefore they have an ethos and things that they believe in. You can say you disagree with those things, but that doesn't make them any more toxic than what you're saying here. Would this be called toxic femininity coming from Tracee Ellis Ross? Is Michelle Obama running a red pill podcast because she's talking about dating? That is an interesting place to be, because everyone online now that is a man that even says the word dating is somehow now a red pill podcast, or they hate women, or they're a misogynist. This is not how you classify people. You're supposed to classify people on a case-by-case basis. And unfortunately, if you're in the dating market and you're lumping all men into one pile, the problem isn't with them, it's actually with you. This is an interesting discussion. And my summation is, it goes back to one thing. Tracee Ellis Ross and a lot of women in her position, let me generalize, let me not just say her, are afraid of rejection. They're afraid of seeing the man that they want and actually approaching him and actually going out and saying what they want. And that in turn reflects in how their dating patterns are and what they're doing. Men, we're used to being rejected. All of our lives, we've been rejected. But you ask a woman to step out of her comfort zone and put herself out there in a way, then all of a sudden they want to get traditional. I should never have to chase a man. I should never have to say anything to a man. Men should just come up to me. That's their job in nature, is to be a hunter. So now we're back to traditional roles again. I thought you wanted this evolved person. And then the whole thing about dating younger. She talks this very casually. She speaks of dating younger men very casually. But I will say there is a double standard, because then you have people like Leonardo DiCaprio, who's also an actor, who also dates younger women. He's looked at as some type of strange person for having that same desire, when I think there would be more of a biological imperative for Leonardo to date younger. The fact that he doesn't have children at this point. You understand? Leo is looking for someone who could potentially have family down the line with. Not saying that a man that's with Tracee Ellis Ross couldn't have a wonderful family as well, by adopting, by surrogacy, maybe even by natural birth. Who knows? Some women can have babies in their 50s. It's amazing. But is that ideal? And is that something that you want to explore? And does that even lessen your chances for finding what you want in the dating market? I just pose those questions, you know. I'm always down for dinner. Tracee Ellis, hit me up. I'm at Faucette Media on Instagram. All y'all rest, y'all follow me too. Twitter, same thing. But what do you all think about this? Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell notification for all uploads. If you want to watch more, please watch one of these videos down below. Make sure you sign up for faucetmedia.com. That's my streaming service. It's a big movement, man. I'm trying to get y'all there so we can talk about the things that we can't talk about on YouTube. Link is in the description. This is Faucette Media.